Woo!
Hey, Jei'mar.
Coach D.
What's cracking, baby?
What's up, bro?
Well, it is another Thursday evening. It must be 6 p.m. because here we are on VESTED, me and my room, and you're in your office. How you doing, dude?
Man, I'm super fantastic. How you doing?
Good. I guess we're going to talk about leadership, and it's a pretty cool topic because I'm way into it and in ways that I am not necessarily always way into it. So this is a really good opportunity to explore that.
Leadership. What is leadership?
Dude.
What does leadership mean? What does leadership mean to you, Coach D?
I used to have a really quick elevator answer to that, and I would be able to just snap it off in a second. I'm learning every day how to expand on my ability to A, be a leader, and B, explain what a leader is. So I'm excited for this show tonight, Jei'mar, because you sent a book in my direction with an incredible mentor that has a lot of experience with leadership. I know who this man is. You know who this man is, Jei'mar. I don't know if everybody that's watching does, but he's been around doing it for a while. And let's give this guy his little, 30-second dig. Jei'mar, let everybody know about my friend, Mr. Maxwell.
Oh, man. Coach D, we're on the leadership frequency. And if we're going to be on the leadership frequency, we're going to be talking about the man himself, John Maxwell. John is the all-time number one person who has educated the entire planet, those who are on the frequency, on leadership. And so he's been in the leadership game for almost 50 years. He's personally written 51 books on the topic of leadership over the past 40 plus years. His most recent book is called LeaderSHIFT that he released February of 2019. And this book right here, he wrote 50 books before this book. And so this book is a combination, what he calls is layered learning. So what he's learned over the last 40 plus years. And man, I'm so grateful for people like that in the world, Coach D, who go before us to make the path for us smoother. And so I'm just grateful for John Maxwell and the John Maxwell organization. And I'm grateful that we're talking about leadership because I believe, Coach D, that we're all created to be leaders. And so,
Dude, okay, listen, we got to talk about that concept because I don't know if I agree with it entirely. And,
come on. What?
No, because listen, okay, hold on. In a broad sense, let's give it a little more clarity. I think that when a guy writes 51 books and then decides on how to leader shift in his second, it hits me in a spot that it couldn't have better timing because I grew into a leadership role in my family and then as an athlete in school, but everything changed when things that were outside of my control showed me a different version of myself. And I think that when I was reading this book or the opening to this book that we kind of are going to talk about today, I recognized that understanding what leadership is can change. And this whole book is called The LeaderSHIFT. There are 7 different principles that we're going to kind of glaze over a little bit today that suggest how to not just be a leader, but how to adapt. And there are a couple examples that we'll go over. I think that being able to understand essence-wise of what you are and to be mindful and aware of it, leadership is purpose. It can be a burden. It can be exciting. It can be rewarding. But at the same time, at least what I'm going through right now as a leader and learning how to shift into a different version of leadership that I'm not necessarily great at. Good time for Mr. Maxwell. So let's kick this off, Jei'mar, with our Inspire section. And let's start with number one that he starts with in his 7 principles, how can we utilize this ability to shift our leader abilities to move into the new way?
Right.
How are we going to inspire? How's he going to inspire us with the first thing that he says, Jei'mar?
Well, he opens it up with the framework. He lays out this framework to embark on this leadership journey. And invested community out there, if you have not tapped into John Maxwell, I encourage you to plug into it. Plug into a John Maxwell podcast, a John Maxwell book. Pick up the LeaderSHIFT, because there's so much content, so much value, there's so much gold that it would just elevate your life. And I know for sure you would get so much value out of it. But the very first step that he talks about, he lays out the 7 steps, the framework. And the first one is that we must continue to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So as leaders, we must continue to learn, then we must unlearn, and then relearn. So you think about right now, Coach D and invested community, look at the world we're in today. September 24th, 2020, at the time of this live stream release launch missile that we're doing, how many people in the world are unlearning what they used to know and are relearning, whether it's how to take their children to school, how to do their business, how do they course correct with whatever it is in life right now? How do they handle family dynamic when everyone is in the house, they can't go nowhere? How are they learning to go out into the world, into the public, into this new COVID reflection climate? You think about everything that we're doing right now. We've learned as people up until this point. Now we're unlearning so many learning, and then have the same time the ability to unlearn old stuff and then to relearn. And so that's the first step he talks about.
Jei'mar transitions into the second one, and I think this is a good bridge, because I think number 1 and number 2 are something that are very intimate to me that I'm dealing with currently. He said, yesterday ended last night. And as I'm trying, this is number 2, okay? From the framework, he gives you 7 things that you need to try to wrap your head around before he really gets into what leader shifting is, and then gives you examples how it happened in his own life. But these 7 concepts that he's working with are just, broad thoughts that he needs you to be able to at least open yourself up to, so that he can lay a foundation for his what he's gone through, and maybe he could share some stories that you could utilize. But where I'm at with this is that the leader that I once was is the thought in the back of my head. So when I wake up and I see the world for what it is from the perspective that I'm experiencing on that day, the minute I go back to saying, well, I can't, or I was, and this and that, all of that thought energy is wasted in relationship to what it is that I could be putting into motion now. So as I was having this conversation with Jei'mar before we aired the show, he was like, look, man, you're always a leader and you're leading right now. So I was trying to wrap my head around the idea about, what do you mean everybody's a leader? Well, you're the leader of your thoughts. You decide on whether or not you accept them or deny them. And then you decide on whether or not those thoughts turn into emotions, and then you use that fuel to run your whole life. So if I wake up in the morning as a leader of my life, because we all lead our own lives with our thoughts and emotions, and I decide that because I can't, this is why I don't, those things that used to, if that's the fuel that I'm putting into today's leader, then how am I going to shift? So in rule number 2, when he talks about yesterday ended last night, if you wake up and you have those thoughts, they should be to do nothing more than to reference or to platform off of. And if you could eliminate them completely, I'm having a strange feeling that our buddy Maxwell would probably say the quicker you can do that, the better. And now the number 3 kind of transitions right into that, Jei'mar. So explain to me where Maxwell's coming from concept-wise with speed, because he's not saying hit the gas and go faster than everybody else. But at the same time, the third principle that he discusses is to be able to utilize speed in a different way, to wrap your head around it and to be able to take advantage of it. So hit us with number 3, Jei'mar.
Man, I want to share that real quick though on that second point, because you just made a very powerful statement about talking about the present. And real quick on point two, because I got this message today at 10:49 a.m. this morning. I received a text message, and it says, and it was from Lao Zhao, right? It was a quote. It says, "If you are depressed, you are living in the past. If you are anxious, you are living in the future. If you are at peace, you're living in the present." So before we go on to number three, I just, when you're talking about value yesterday, because I don't want us to just jam by that one, because I think it's so important that people move beyond yesterday. There's so many people in life that are not moving because they're still in yesterday. And yesterday could be yesterday. Yesterday could be 2 years ago. Yesterday could be 10 years ago. Yesterday is the past. Yes, we value that, but it's all about the present moment, right? And living here in the moment and embracing the present and the here and the now. And there's also so many people, Coach D, that they're paralyzed and they're anxious because they are focused on the future of what's going to happen, how's this going to happen, and it hinders them from moving and growing because they're stuck in this message of how's this going to work. So before we went on, I just want to make sure we touch on that, because it's very important that all we have right now, Coach D, is this moment. Nothing's guaranteed for us tomorrow. And I just want to encourage all of us to remember that in this moment we're in, and make the best of it, and live for today, and learn from the past and go.
Jei'mar, I got a question for our vested community. What do you do when you're having trouble finding gratitude and engaging in positive thoughts, when you're still supposed to be a leader and you're still supposed to push through things that don't feel good? Because Jei'mar, like every single self-help book that I've ever read in my life says everything that you just said. And if you realize that those thoughts lead to the emotions that actually make you feel that way, and whether you feel that way or not, you move in that direction, eventually you get there. Kind of like, it sounds like you are and I'm moving towards, right? But there are some people right now, based on what's going on, they're so freaked out about how they've either been deceived or they have deceived themselves, that they're so beat up and battered by what's going on that not only do they not feel like leading other people, but they're having trouble leading themselves. And this is a very real situation, because when you're married, and let's just say that you're now having to deal with a different level of income and a lot more stress than you're used to, you're leading your household, your partner, your children with this anxiety and fear. So when you sit here and you say that everybody's a leader, the more and more I start to entertain this concept, the more I'm getting where you're coming from with that. But at the same time, when I was listening to this book or diving into the concepts, I was trying to understand from the perspective of that guy that's freaking out, that doesn't feel too much like a leader. How are you supposed to wrap your head around it? And then when you understand, okay, I guess I am a leader and I am the one in charge of my own thoughts, and you're going through this mindfulness process, and it's really complicated. You start to be aware of some of the stuff that kind of sucks, that was really your fault and it's not very good. And then you move on to the next step, and you're supposed to be grateful and you're supposed to just be in the moment. But I'll tell you what, man, the water seems kind of hot. And not only does the water seem hot, it might be hot because I'm the one that put the flame under it.
Nice. Hey, you ready for this?
Yeah.
Leadership ain't easy. Leadership ain't easy. And it doesn't matter who it is that is leading at a high capacity or leading from the front. They will tell you that leadership ain't easy, Coach D. And I think that alone deters people from becoming the leader that they're destined to be, that we're all destined to be, because it's not easy, man. Leading self is not easy. It's consistent, constant work. And man, I want to tell you right now, in front of the entire vested community today, and think about this, who's going to be watching this a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, when they see this message. Coach D, I'm only here with you in this frequency, in this moment, because I see you as a leader. That's the only reason I'm here. Like if you weren't someone that I was looking up to, that I'm inspired to be around, to create with and empower other people to kick ass in life, however they see that, man, I wouldn't be here. So I just want to let you know that even as leaders, we don't always see our ability to lead. We don't always see the things that we're doing, that we're leading, that the impact that we're making around others. But before you even knew me personally, man, you had an impact on me. I was like, man, this dude's a freaking leader. Like, I was inspired. So that feeling that we have, Coach D, is normal. We're human beings, man. And when we strive for perfection, I think that's where we get discouraged. But when we strive to improve and grow, that's where we get better.
Pressure makes diamonds, so baby. And honestly, the way I look at it is I ain't trying to sit around and be a piece of coal when I know my potential. So,
woo!
Look, bro. Okay, so one of the things that made me a good leader before, and one of the reasons that I have trouble finding balance being a leader now, is because I like to go fast, man. I am a home run hitter. And what a lot of people don't understand is when you're a home run hitter and you're going to make that claim and you're going to be the guy that hits number 3 and is expected to get all the RBIs, there's a lot of preparation and a lot of work that goes into that. A lot of people don't understand that you absolutely have to try harder and push bigger and grind more than everybody else. And then when you do that and you step up to the plate and you say, I'm a home run hitter, coach put me in, and then he does, you're going to be expected to, I mean, if you don't hit it out of the park, at least, bang it off the wall or get an RBI double, So, what I'm getting at is being a gunslinger, being the one that has the confidence to step up and say, listen, give me the ball. It's 4th down. I want to win the game. It's really tough when you're used to going fast and then you can't leader shift, or you're having trouble leader shifting because it's a gas break scenario. So when we bust into the third thing that he talks about before we move into creating this in our lives, it's inspiring to think that it's not that I have to stop going fast. It's that I have to utilize the timing of when to go fast and when to hit the brake. And I'm telling you, man, when you go fast and you're trying to learn how to do this gas brake situation, you crash a lot, man. And dude, I got bumped and banged and bruised, and I'm talking emotionally and spiritually and soulfully, man. It's like, you got to be a leader. You are leading. Dude, I don't really feel like that all the time, man. I really don't. Most of the time, I'm like, oh, dude, like, why do you feel that way about me? People, I'm just doing my best. Hey, man, deciding to do your best, picking yourself up when nothing really makes sense, and deciding to give all that you've got to whatever it is that you're giving to, there's value in that, man. There's value in the other people that you're giving to, the other things that you're giving to. You might not feel it in the moment. And like you said, you don't know how this is going to affect somebody in a week, in a year, in 5 years. You have no idea. But if you have faith, okay, that the type of faith that I'm talking about isn't attached to some dogma or to some building or to some concept. I'm talking faith that, like, this moment is exactly what it's supposed to be. And I'm in it because I'm supposed to be. And something about it means that I'm going to follow an intuition because I'm already here. That's going to give me an answer. And if it doesn't, I have to have faith that I know that in this moment, it's the best thing to do. Right. Or you can coin flip, man. Or you can decide to negotiate about, well, it might work better if we do this. And if we do that, then that's good too. And it's like, dude, we always know in our very core, the odds wise, what's probably going to be the best case scenario. And let's just say you screw up and make a mistake, because with your knowledge, that was the best case scenario. But as you learn and look back, you recognize that there were other choices that you could have made that it could have ended up a little bit different. I got a story, but I'm going to transition into creativity because I'd like you to start talking about the fourth one, Jei'mar. As we transition to the next phase of our show here at Vested, will you talk a little bit about layered learning, bro?
Wow. What's up, Crispin? You know, layered learning, you think about it as exactly what it means. It's a layer of learning that we get to add on each time. And so what John talks about is that layered learning. You know, for example, using his book LeaderSHIFT, he's written 50 books on the topic of leadership. And book 51 is LeaderSHIFT. So he's shared stories of how everything he's built is compounded because he's used his learning and he's layered his learning on top of more learning and learning on top of more learning. And when we layer the learning, it's a compound effect. And when we compound things, it's just things explode, explosive. So the fact that layered learning is so important, because you think about it today. If we fast forward, well, Coach D, where you're at today in your mind, your heart, your body, your spirit, did you know everything that you know today the way you understand it this time, exact time, second, a year ago?
No.
No.
I didn't know yesterday. Not yesterday.
Right. Yeah. So you look at the layered learning, like we're every time we're new creations all the time. We're always, everything's new, and we're learning and we're learning and we're learning, and we're able to embrace that and grow from those layers of learning. It's just they just keep growing and growing. Now, here's the thing: if someone is not in tune with the mindset of growing and learning, then there's no layers. It's like that growth, the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset. Someone who's a fixed mindset person can't even hear the frequency we're talking about right now, and that's okay. Someone could be the most happiest person in the world, and they have no desire to lead, to grow, to do anything other than live their life in the fixed way that they do it. And that's totally cool. That's their prerogative. That's their power. God's given them that free will. But I do believe that there's so much more in life to attain, achieve, to create, to enjoy when we continue to learn and grow and stretch. I mean, Coach D, what if we didn't want to embark on this mission right here and learning how to use the software? Thank you, tech team. We have the most amazing tech team, Rebecca.
Woo!
We love you, tech team. She's going to have an entire department one day under her leadership. But what if we didn't want to learn how to use this whole platform? Man, and Aaron and the team, love you, Aaron, for even having the God-inspired vision, 3-4 years ago to create, right? 360. What's up, Mom? Yes, learning rewires the brain. Thank you, Mom. That's my mom. Learning rewires the brain. Neurons that fire together, wire together, right? But you think about it, we're all learning. So this is the land that we're in right now, in this moment in time, in our history, in the global pandemic, of the COVID reflection. This is the time for us to learn more now than ever. This is the time to learn more now than ever. And right now what's happening is all of us as people, our capacity, our bandwidth is being stretched. And some people are breaking. Some people are going down, and it's okay as long as they get back up. But this is the time where it's not the time to be weak-minded. This is not the time to be fixed-minded. This is not the time to understand that there's no such thing as called growth. It's not the time to understand leadership. I truly believe, like, more important now than ever, Coach D, is for people to be tapped into this type of frequency that we're talking about in concept, as in growing, layered learning, stretching, leadership, leading from the front, being out there and being that striving to grow that next level of self.
Yo, okay, yeah, I agree. Okay, in concept, it sounds great, and I'm going through all the things that you're talking about, and you have this really cool way of putting, you know what I mean? You live it, Jei'mar. So when you go through discomfort, like you choose grace, and you understand that the grace has something there for you to learn. But when you coin flip and you maybe in the past haven't chose grace, and you're now living into this life where you're recognizing that the fire's there because you put it there, and that's why everything's so hot, it's a little bit harder to wrap your head around it. So when we're talking about this book about LeaderSHIFTing, and we're going through these concepts, and we're trying to create a life that reflects what it is that you're talking about, this next point that this guy brings up says something along the lines of, see the big picture as the picture gets bigger. Mm-hmm. And to realize that there's no finish line in sight when it comes to getting better. Now,
come on.
Look, it supports what you're saying, but that doesn't make me feel great, especially when I've been screwing stuff up. So if I'm sitting here trying to create this life of purpose, and I'm trying to be a leader, and I'm looking at this pool of information that I have to work with, I don't feel real enthusiastic about how awesome all these opportunities are, because through the awareness and the acceptance, I'm recognizing that I'm going to have to get through learning how to learn, unlearn, and relearn. But this is a process that's embedded in me so deeply that it's probably the reason that I haven't been succeeding up to this point. And now I'm recognizing that in the relationship with life and other things, that there's so much that I could have done to have succeeded in the past, but I didn't, and I screwed up, and it's my fault. And all the people that love me keep telling me this, and I keep making the same mistakes. So when he's saying that there's no finish line to getting better, and that we need to see the bigger picture as it gets bigger, to me, immediately, I look at that as like overwhelming. I'm like, okay, so I'm already screwing things up, which means I don't have the answer yet. Okay, so as I'm trying to create this life of purpose, as I'm trying to put myself out there and actually feel the way I can tell you feel, Jei'mar. I'm trying to do it with the energy and anxiety of all of those other thoughts. So as I'm a vested viewer, as I'm watching this, as I'm trying to extract value from this experience of seeing this show and watching other people try to unfold their ideas about what's going on right now when no one knows what's going on right now, these broad concepts help as thought experiments. So as I'm trying to create an idea that I don't necessarily have, we insert vested, okay, as this vehicle, this different idea, this gratefulness that we have this here to be able to lean on people that are doing the same thing with a very collected mentality, to engage in thoughts or ideas that aren't necessarily what we're currently running on, and then to believe in the idea that each and every one of us can be a leader of our own thoughts so that we can empower ourselves to be able to create a life that's worth living. And I'm talking getting from the bed to brushing your teeth, because a lot of people, when they're looking at their lives and they're becoming aware of how they've screwed up in ways that they should have probably done things differently, they have trouble getting from the bed to brush their teeth, and they call that depression. And then they live in that energy all day with thoughts that support it. So as we're trying to create, and it seems a little ambiguous and it's a little frustrating and difficult, we need to be patient, man. We need to be patient. Well, what we focus on, man, expands. See what I did there? I transitioned right into number 5, Mike. Number 5, Mike. So here's the what we focus on expands, dude. If we get up in the morning, this is his 5th principle that we need to wrap our head around. And we can't make it from the bed to the toothbrush without having all these negative thoughts. Then by the time we get to the toothbrush, it's going to be another one of those days. But if what we focus on is the opportunity that we got to sleep in a nice bed and move towards the bathroom and brush our teeth and on, you're moving a little bit more into alignment with how you were saying, Jei'mar, that you're doing it, that you're feeling it, that you are a leader, that it might not necessarily feel like it in the moment, but that's because you haven't aligned your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions to experience it in that way. So let's switch over to Jei'mar now, and you talk about this from the perspective of, okay, man, this is how we do it, and You're real good at it, Jei'mar. You're real good at it. And I feel like I'm over here most of the time trying to figure it out as we go.
Is that what I sound like to you?
No, dude. You sound like you've got it together, bro. Like, even when you're struggling, you're like, well, today I struggled, and as I struggled, I saved a baby from a burning building. And it's like, God, Jei'mar. Hey, dude, I stumbled and busted my head and freaking made everyone mad. And dude.
Leadership is a shoe that's not a one size fit all, right? Leadership looks, it's different to everyone, and thank you, amazing tech team, she brought up this thought. You got leadership for a man and leadership for a woman looks totally different. Leadership for a husband, leadership for a wife is totally different. Leadership for a mom, leadership for a dad is totally different. So leadership as an employee, leadership as an employer, leadership as an entrepreneur, leadership as someone who is representing a cause that they truly, deeply believe in. Leadership looks different to everyone. But when you look at what he says is what we focus on expands. Live today, be in the moment today with the focus of developing for tomorrow, but living today. And we talked about this before, Coach G, where we focus, energy flows. Where energy flows, things grow. Where we focus, energy flows. Where energy flows, things grow. So that's why he says, what we focus on expands. What we focus on expands. And if we choose, once we understand that we have that power to choose where we focus, and wherever we focus, whether we like it or not, positive or negative, leadership or not leadership, growth or fixed, Wherever we focus, it's going to expand. So as leaders, we must realize that. We must be aware of that. And so when our focus shifts, because we're human, because we have emotions, because we may not always feel like a leader. We may not always feel like leading because leadership is not easy. We may not always feel like being accountable. We may not always feel like inspiring, creating, empowering. We may not feel it. But once we understand where we focus, energy flows, and it helps us come back to the mission. Okay. Boom. Right. And that's so powerful. Mindfulness plays here, right? That's so good. Being mindful of this, just like we talked about from the map, coming back to the map action, being mindful of focusing right now, because where we focus, energy flows. Where energy flows, things grow, and what we focus on expands.
Well, Jei'mar, if you can't figure this out, I like to jump forward because I'm one of those type of guys, a little impulsive there. But
I'm gonna come up with a voice for you though one day.
You should. I have many, man. I have the crazy guy voice. So listen, we'll move into 6 real quick. It says in times of uncertainty to be a catalyst leader. And so in a lot of ways, we feel like we are leaders, or we don't feel like we are leaders. We do what we do, but we look out at the world and we
do what we do.
I mean, well, action talks, right? But this is one thing that I kind of want to poke out real quick. And you and I are sitting here in front of the camera and we're spouting off all our different ideas and we're connecting with people through voice and what you see. But in terms of being a catalyst leader and everybody being leaders, right now, as you're the leader individually of yourself, of your household, this and that, we can't forget of the people that are packing lunches and getting the kids ready. And we can't forget of, maybe up to this point, the roles have been one way and maybe they've shifted, maybe they haven't, but catalyst leaders are people that take charge. For instance, my wife, she's decided that in the situation that we're in, okay, we are working with this disability in the wheelchair situation. So she's found a way to be able to create something that is empowering, that she enjoys, that is going to add value in a situation that is extraordinarily complicated. And in most situations, people spend their energy in the day going, that sucks, and this is why, and I'm going to bring this home, and I'm going to tell my husband, and then when I go to the store, my wife looked at this situation and said, well, compassionately speaking, maybe these people don't necessarily understand what's going on. Maybe they don't know the laws. Maybe they don't understand in one quick moment, their choice could be an inconvenience to somebody else. So she takes the opportunity to let them know in a way that is compassionate and honestly funny. And then we make videos and it becomes this cool thing. So to be a catalyst leader, to look at times of uncertainty, that change is a little frustrating and everybody's a little freaked out. Find a way to be able to make it palatable, to get through it in a way that adds value so that when you look back on it, you're proud of how you responded to it. Instead of looking at, I remember that crappy time, like, oh yeah, there was that time where my wife told me before I met her, and she was a single mother, that the electricity went out, and instead of freaking out, she turned it into a night with candles and charades with their kids. And it's like, if we can kind of entertain the idea that everything's going to be all right, we're mindful, we're aware, we have purpose with whatever it is that we're doing, then we can transition into this different way of creating the life that we want to live. And we don't have to just sit around and let it come to us. We can actually participate in it, no matter what happens. Because even when something unfortunate happens, we'll make people laugh, we'll inform, we'll make out the best of it, and we'll laugh about it later or freak out. I'm done freaking out, Jei'mar. I've freaked out so much. I'm so tired of it.
Oh man, you think about it. You think about it, Coach D. You're a catalyst. You're a catalyst leader. You're a catalyst leader. Right now, you're creating something that's causing an event.
There's uncertain times.
That's what he talks about. He talks about and we move forward courageously in the midst of uncertainty. Just like you talked about the amazing Rebecca and that example, right? That as she's moving forward courageously in the midst of uncertainty, and she's making things happen, right? Being a badass. And so he says all good things come with uncertainty. And the real talk, Coach D, a lot of people in life, they can't handle it. They can't handle uncertainty. They can't handle that. But it's part of being a leader. And not only do we move forward, but we move forward courageously, not timidly, courageously. So as leaders, whatever we're doing, invested community, here's a question, what kind of leader are you? Right? How do you see yourself? Because like Coach D's talking about, every single day when we wake up, we're with self in that moment. The moment we wake up, the first person you're with is self. Even though you may be laying next to someone else, the first person you're with is yourself when you wake up. So we all have the opportunity to lead self every day, whether you believe it as in leading or not. We're all leading self, right? That all starts here. But when you look at it as being a catalyst leader and moving forward in life courageously, and we got to go, we keep going back to the COVID reflection because that's where we're at right now. Man, if people are not moving forward courageously right now, you're getting bamboozled. You're getting crushed by life right now, by the adversity. Thanks, Mom. Was just says here, truly the best thing any of us have to bring to leadership is our own transformation. Yes, Mom. High five, Mom. Love you. Look at my mom coming in. So you see, I see I'm a leader. Look at my mom coming in. My mom. My mom is a badass leader. I'm gonna talk about my mom real quick.
You cheated. You stacked the deck, bro. I didn't know you had all this good upraising and such.
Well, look at this here. My mom, I love my mom. She's my mom, right? Obviously, me and my sister, then my stepsister and, my stepbrother, she transitioned to heaven, back in 2006. But my mom's a mom. And she's a wife, right? And then she's a grandma, grandma to my amazing daughter, Khalees Faith, and son, little King Levi Marshall. But you look at my mom, my mom's been an entrepreneur. She's been, she's served a mission, serving people, working for the state. She's working under the leadership at college. My mom is a double cancer survivor, crushed cancer back to back. Like you think about all these things, all these different hats that my mom wore in her life as a leader. But, my mom, she probably is not thinking I'm being a leader because she's just out there leading. Right. But she is a leader, so I think there's so many people in life that lead in so many areas of life, but they don't look at themselves as that badass leader. So we're here to tell you today, Vested community and Coach D, Jay, all of us, we're badass leaders, and that's OK. It's OK to be that badass leader.
All right, Jei'mar, I got to transition impulsively to the empowerment section because I'll be totally honest with you. And we broke up these 7 things and we're going to end with this last one. When I first read it, I didn't feel very empowered. It was almost, okay, so we've gone through these concepts and I've been open enough to try to understand where you're coming from in a way that maybe doesn't necessarily feel comfortable. But how are we going to wrap this last concept into being empowering? Because I feel like if you look at it with a certain perspective, it's just as frustrating as anything else. But after experiencing this conversation with you tonight and being able to kind of look at it a little bit differently, I'm able to wrap my head around it in a way that is absolutely empowering. The last one is realize today's best will not meet tomorrow's challenges. Keep getting better. So just like the first statement, that's like, all right, so you mean to tell me that like I'm gonna bust my tail and I'm gonna keep getting better, I'm gonna be this leader and everything's gonna be great and stuff's gonna start actually popping. And then when I wake up tomorrow morning, that's not gonna be good enough? The answer is yes. It's not going to be good enough. And if you're doing it right, it should feel good. And if it feels good and you turn around and you have empowered whoever it is you're leading, yourself, your family, your group, your whatever, they're going to feel empowered as well. And they're going to want to get up and come back and do it again tomorrow as well. When you start to see even corporations that over the last, 10, 20 years, the ones that are absolutely killing it are the ones that people want to go work for. The Googles offer, these packages where your breaks, the catering trucks, the vacations, you're working with your friends, you have a cush office. They're not slave running these people. They're empowering them. And they're saying, listen, you're right. Your best today is not okay tomorrow because we're Google. Because tomorrow we got to be even better than we were today. And people want to come back the next day and they want to do that. Because things, as they look around, offer an environment where getting better is actually the popping thing to do. So I think, Jei'mar, that we should continue to entertain this book. I think that this is a really good place to start. I think for the Vested community, as we're starting to go through a lot of this uncontrollable thought, mindful stuff that it's kind of cool that not only have we discussed a map, how we can use it personally, but now if you go out into the world, you can see true, tried and tested versions of how to get through this. It's not an accident that his 50-second book comes out at the perfect time with the perfect way to go about doing it. So can we do a little bit more of a deep dive into our boy, Mr. Maxwell, next week, Jei'mar? I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm inspired, we've created, and now I'm empowered. But at the same time, I think we could, now that we have the concepts in place, let's see if we can dive into the book a little bit more and cliff note this thing so that we can give the vested community a little something to take away. And maybe I think you got more for me too, Jei'mar. I think your nice, clear, concise responses and thoughts help me, I don't know, file cabinet some of my mess.
Man, look at this here. The best part is that we get to get better, right? Like having just that mindset, like he says here, realizing today's best will not meet tomorrow's challenging. Keep getting better. And where we're at today in the world we live in today, if we're not getting better, then are we getting worse? Yes, because what's the opposite of getting better is getting worse. Like we're not staying the same. We're either shrinking or we're either growing and expanding. And so that's why he's saying, I always have that mindset. And that's why I'm so passionate about getting better. Not everybody's focused on getting better, and that's okay. That's okay. But if you're listening to this, it doesn't matter if it's now or in the future, we want to encourage you to keep getting better because we're here to get better. I'm here to get better. Obviously, Coach D is always keeping it real and he's striving and getting better. And as iron sharpens iron, we sharpen each other. But Vested Community, we want to challenge you and encourage you. Next week, we're going to be wrapping up, the next 2-3 weeks, wrapping up the leadership focus. But if you know anyone out there who you consider as a leader, then invite them next week to watch this leadership frequency and encourage them to tune in, because it'd be awesome to have other leaders plugging in and feeling the leadership vibration. And we can always high five and acknowledge them and who they are and what they do and how they're leading in the world. And so, that's what we're here to do. We're here to empower other people to be leaders that they're been created to be. And I want to tell you right now, Vested Community, whether you believe it or not, you are a leader. You are a leader. Right. You're a leader.
Jei'mar, let's do a little exercise here, because as much as I love this whole Maxwell idea and the book that we're going to be reviewing next week, man, from the beginning of the show to right now, I couldn't tell you all 7 straight down. So
let's recap.
If you could please, even if you got to read them right off the cue, the notes that we had before, why don't you start and go over the 3 that we went over in the Inspire section, and then I'll go over the 3 that we went over in the Create section, and then we'll both give them a little pop of empowerment and have everybody stoked on next week when we actually dive into the book. So
I love it.
With the first 3 and how it inspired you, and bam.
That's okay. I love it, Coach G. We're going to tell them what we told them. We're going to tell them, and then we're going to tell them what we told them.
Mr. Max will be happy. He's a Toastmaster. Woo!
Woo! Okay, so the first 3, look at this, team. First 3. Number 1 is, as leaders, we must continue to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So that's number 1. Continue to learn, unlearn, and relearn. Especially right now, think about all the stuff where we're all relearning, right? So continue, number 1, to continue to learn, unlearn, and relearn. Number 2, value yesterday, but live today. Value yesterday, but live today. Yesterday ended last night. So boom, be present in the moment. Value yesterday, but live it today. And then number 3, rely on speed, but thrive on timing. I want to touch on this real quick, Coach D, because you think about Zoom. Think about Zoom. Zoom is all about let's have speed, but think about it. 10 years ago, when the owner, the originator, founder, creator, Eric Yuan said, "Hey guys, one day there's going to be a time where everybody needs us." See, Zoom is thriving right now because the time right now for the virtual world has exploded. Eric Yuan just probably didn't think that everyone at the same time was going to be tapped in.
He stuck with it. Look what happened. He just kept plugging.
Boom. Right. So, thriving on the right timing. So that was 1, 2, 3, Coach D.
All right, man. Well, the way that we're going to utilize this information, at least on Vested, to be able to create, we'll go into number 4. We're going to see the big picture as the picture gets bigger. This is where Jei'mar kind of went over layered learning and how it works. We're never going to stop getting better. So what we have to do is get better the best we can in this moment. We need to learn from it. We're either going to win or we're going to learn, and we're going to move forward with that information so that it makes us better for the next step. Okay, so we're going to go into number 5, live today, but think about tomorrow. what we focus on expands. We don't want to get out of bed and stub our toe and have that stub toe be the mentality that we're running the entire day with. If you stub the toe, put a Band-Aid on, and maybe it's a Snoopy Band-Aid. And every time you look at it, it makes you laugh about how much awaker you are when you got up this morning and friggin' banged your foot, okay? But
Coach D, real quick, 2 days ago, my daughter said she fell down the stairs and she stubbed her pinky toe. It's like she was so mad about it. She said it cried. She said it hurt. She's like hit her hip and messed up her pinky toe. Say don't bust up your toe.
But look, Jei'mar, you're laughing about it, okay? So I think this is the approach. It never feels good to smash the toe. It's never a good thing, right?
Watch the pinky toe. Khalees, I love you.
In the moment, you smash it, you share it with somebody, you get over it, and then you laugh about it on the
She got over it. She's so strong. I'm so proud of
right?
her.
All right, man. So yes. So what we focus on expands. Let's focus on good things. Let's focus on opportunities. Let's focus on the ideas that are worth pursuing. And once we clear the clutter and we're aware of what's going on, there's purposeful stuff there, man. Like you can do something that you really enjoy really well, and all of a sudden life gets great. So number 6 is be a catalyst leader in doing what you love, in entertaining the ideas that feel good to you. Guess what? When you feel good, other people feel good. So the catalyst leader as a mother, she gets up to get her kids ready. Those kids are a reflection of your attitude. The father that doesn't, hey man, if you don't have a job, dad, okay, and you come home and you hit the whiskey bottle and you act like a jerk, everybody's watching. Everybody's recording every moment that happens. But if you come home with flowers that you picked on your walk home because you ran out of gas, and you decided to grab a piece of chalk and write some hopscotch on the driveway, you give your wife the flowers, you do hopscotch with your kids, and you're unemployed, super bummed out, and you're probably not going to be able to keep the lights on. But guess what? Tonight the lights are on. And you're going to eat whatever it is that you have in your refrigerator. And you're going to find a way to be grateful, because when you engage in activities like that, they lead to more activities that are worthy of having, better experiences, more fun, abundant, positive stuff. And it might look a little different than you're used to it looking. So I'm going to go ahead and transition right into empowerment here. And we're going to wrap this up. Jei'mar, I'm going to let you kick it off, brother.
Hey, and hitting home with number 7, like we talked about, the good decision we make today will lead into good decisions tomorrow. And team, vested community, we got to keep growing, keep getting better. No matter what you're doing in your life right now, I encourage you, Coach D encourages you. We are not only talking it with our words, we're doing it with our actions, because we're both striving to become better. And we want to encourage you to be better, to get better. Whatever inspires you to go do something badass, go do it. Just get better. Be better. Be a better mom. Be a better person. Be a better father. Be a better son. Be a better daughter. Be a better boss, be a better coach, be a better leader, be a better listener, be better in everything, and have that mentality that there is no end zone, there is no finish line. It's just better. We all can be better, including me. Coach D.
That's what we're here doing, man. That's why we're on this show. We're, broadcasting to however many people want to listen. And like you said, this is infinite, man. We're just going to keep getting better at broadcasting the show, at being able to compartmentalize our thoughts. And we're going to keep putting positivity out there. And listen, be patient, everybody, because it's not easy. As I'm trying to figure out how to be this new type of leader with this information that I never asked for, and it's not so much fun, and I'm so uncomfortable. I mean, if you guys ever wonder why I'm shifting around in my chair, I'm just trying to figure out a way to do this wheelchair crap.
I love you, bro.
Hey, I love you too, Jei'mar. And your actions speak loud, okay? So I'm going to get behind you because I like the lead that you're putting forth. And I hope you obviously told me earlier in the show that you like what I'm putting down. So everybody in the vested community, my question to you is, how are you a leader? What type of lead are you putting forth in the world? Even if it's just for yourself, maybe it's for your family, maybe it's the workplace. We're going to get into this next week, okay? Next week, we're going to follow a very important, incredible, influential leader. 52 books. We didn't know if we were going to even bust into this. Jei'mar and I talked about it tonight. We're like, let's just have a conversation on leadership and see where it goes. I'm interested in going a little bit deeper to Mr. Maxwell's concept in his most recent book, where he shifts LeaderSHIFT to show people how, in order to continue to be a leader, in order to push people or to push yourself in the direction worthy of following, you have to constantly change. I'll close with one analogy that he uses in the opening of a book. He said, "It's the cheetah isn't the best hunter because he's the fastest. It's because he can change direction the best. And he analyzes the situation in a way that supports how he hunts." So yes, he's fast. And when he needs a burst of speed, he can lean on it. But it's more about how he changes direction. It's more about how they analyze the playing field. So I will leave that to the Vested community to think about for the next week. I hope that you think about how you can be a leader in your own life, and you bring it back with you next week when we go over this.
Yeah. Yes, next week. Right. Encourage those leaders next week to plug in. And I'm gonna tell you something. When my mom told me long ago, and I will never forget it, my mom said, "Jei'mar, somebody's always watching you." Vested community, I want to tell you, same thing my mom told me. Somebody's always watching you. And as we're being that cheetah, adapting, being the leaders we can be, people were watching us. So here's the question: are you vested?